Not sure what happened there. Not sure what happened to the connection on that. Sorry about that. Kind of halfway through the analysis now. So, let's see. Give me 1 second to copy this. And let me paste this on. One second. Okay, so I'm not sure what happened there. YouTube kind of did me dirty just then. But it's probably because EG is so ugly. Alright, yeah, so ultimately, like I said, I want EU or EG to go up a little bit. Odds are a little sketchy, so we'll see how that plays out. You know, kind of see this little bearish trend line going down. So if it kind of gets into this area, probably going to take my profits if it hasn't already broke me even. Let me just check that real quick. If it hasn't already broke me even already. And I'll give it a little bit of time for some people to come on, just because I don't know what happened just then. Nope, it hasn't broken me even yet. So we'll see if it goes up from here. It's pretty much at my entry, so if it doesn't move from here, it'll probably break me even. Right, so we'll see what happens. All right, let's go on to GJ and see what GJ's talking about. Sorry about that, guys. Probably not going to be a good recording either, but that's how it goes sometimes, right? Okay. Weekly on GJ. Well, obviously in the weekly it's very bullish, but it did come into this area where it has sold off previously. Sold off pretty good. And last week it was a very bearish week. So the pound got weak. Everything got weak against the dollar, basically, is how you can look at it. Every pair got weak against the dollar, and the dollar was very bullish, right? When the dollar gets that bullish, all the other pairs are pretty much going to be weak. So it came into the supply, and it started to drop out. With a weekly candle like this, I expect there to be lower prices. So this pullback right here, if it does what I think it should do, it should leave a wick up here, and we should end up with a bearish candle this week. Okay, but the trend of UJ or GJ is just very bullish, and like I said, when the yen gets weak, the JPY pairs end up rising. So it depends on if the GBP is going to get weaker than the JPY. Yesterday was a kind of a bullish candle off of this 50 EMA. So the odds and probabilities are a little iffy. I'm still trying to see this come to the downside, to be honest. Down into this area. We got rising volume, and then yesterday's bullish candle was even more volume than the past 3 days. So that's kind of questionable for the bulls or bears. Let me see what we got going on here. Okay, definite impulse though. Can't not see that. And this is something I've been talking about for a little while too. I said this area of high volume, and then we had an area of no volume here, and then another area of volume. That's been there for a while, right? And like I said, whenever price breaks these areas and it gets into this area of low volume, it usually moves fast. So I've been calling GJ to come down into this area for a while. Just I didn't personally get a good position on it to make its way down there. I'm not like a breakout trader, so I don't really trade it unless there's kind of a swing to it. Now there is a swing to it, but on the higher time frames, it still looks pretty bullish. Now this is a good area where I think it could hold, to be honest. I do think GJ should hold in this area. So let me swing this from here to here. And we're coming into that 61.8. I think that 78.6 is a good little spot. Obviously, the structure was right here at the 78.6. So I think that 78.6 is a pretty nice swing area for GJ. I'm going to bring it down to the 1 hour and see what we got going on. What I would like to see here, since it was so impulsive, right? So this was just kind of too quick. This is an example of what it looks like when price is too quick to just hop into a limit order type position for me. So I would need to see one of two things. I would need to see this start to make a little wedge pattern in this area with divergence, or I would need to see this come down and then come up to make like an ABC type move. If it doesn't do any of those, then I'm not going to sell it, to be honest. Okay. So that's my bias, though. I am looking more to the downside for this to continue to swing down. But it came up way too fast for me personally to just sell it here without some type of divergence or without some type of retrace and then move up. On the 15-minute, I just got to look to see if there's some divergence. There is some divergence forming on the lower time frames, but I'd kind of like to see it on a little higher time frame than just the 15, to be honest. So if this continues up, EG is going to move down as well. So let me go to GA. Weekly. And last week, it had a bullish week. So to me, what it looks like happened was the AUD was even more weak than the GBP. Because all the other GBP pairs kind of fell, but the GA didn't. So the second pair was weaker than the first pair in this case. And it looks like it could start to maybe possibly continue to the upside right here. This looks like a little bit of Wyckoff accumulation down here. And price is just making its little way up on these higher highs, slight higher highs, higher lows, higher highs. Now, there is a little bit of divergence here. So I'm going to note that off. I don't want to buy into this move up based off the divergence. Looks like we can maybe get a pullback of some sort. Yeah, looks like there could be some type of a pullback coming into the picture. You can see the divergence from here to here as well. This momentum is starting to possibly slow down even from way over here. So even from right here to up here, the momentum still hasn't broken this high yet. But yeah, nonetheless, price is still making its way up. Usually whenever highs get broken like this, you get higher volume, and there's low volume right here. So this does look like a stop hunt to me. I'm not going to try to play the stop hunt. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for it to show some type of bearish move down to give me the exact kind of look that was a stop hunt, and then try to catch another move to the downside kind of into this area. So I'm being patient on GA. If I were to try to maybe find a sniper position to sell it from, I would look at, let's see, my bad. I would look at this area up here at 1.85594. That would be kind of the highest I think it's going to go based off of the divergence. And then look to like come bring it back into the 50 type move. So from here to the 50, that'd be like 100 pips. So you can put like a 30 pip stop and get a nice 3-to-1 on that if that's something you want to play. I'm personally not going to play it. I'm waiting for the stop hunt to happen, and then I'll try to catch a little move to the downside into this area right here. And then ultimately, it looks like it's going to continue to the upside. So got to really watch. I got to see if this pound gets weaker throughout the week. Weaker throughout the week. And I'll just use this 200 EMA instead of that trend line. Okay, and then EA should be looking bullish. Yeah. So the AUD is looking to gain some strength, possibly. Or sorry, weakness against the dollar. Let me see here. Let me go to the weekly first. It's coming into some pretty good resistance off these EMAs, but last week we had a very bullish week. Here's an area where I think it could resist that. Also, from this swing to this swing, we have a area up a little bit higher than that, but the EMAs are holding right here. See if they'll hold price at least right here. 200 EMAs right here as well. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some type of bearish move. You got some bearish divergence here. So a lot of high volume in right here as well. You know, you did get a big move up, but you're getting another nice high volume candle right here. So, you know, I don't really want to buy into the divergence. I'm going to try to wait for a bearish opportunity. If I don't get one, I don't get one. It's not looking great for the bears at all, though, so I'm not really seeing a bearish opportunity. It would have to be a break of this structure right here. I'd have to see that break and then fib that and then take it down to the next kind of area down here probably. So it's most likely going to keep going, to be honest, so I'm just going to be patient. Here's like an area where I see it could possibly stop hunt at and drop back in. If I see this type of move, then I might try to take an early sell. But I'm not loving it, right? I'm not loving the way this is looking, to be honest. So GA and EA are pairs that I really don't trade a whole lot, to be honest, anyway. And I have to see like really good setups to want to really trade them. So I don't really try to take any risks on those pairs. If I'm going to take a risk, it's going to be on something more like these pairs or maybe even EG, you know. So that's just my take on that and how I approach that. And if anyone who's watching has any pairs that they want me to look at, go ahead and throw that in the chat as well. And I'll go over those pairs. Because I'm kind of done looking at my Forex pairs, but if you have a pair like, I don't know, Euro Chef, I don't care. I'll look at it. I love looking at the markets and analyzing the markets. All right. So gold had a very bearish week last week, obviously. Now I know some people are going to be calling this out, so let's just mark it off right off the bat. Inverted head and shoulders for this to continue up, right? Well, when I see a candle like this with volume like this, I expect it to continue to the downside eventually, right? It broke the 50 EMA. It came into an area over here where sellers have previously been. It held there and then it dropped. So I'm more in favor of it to continue to the downside. But you got some high volume stepping in right here. So yeah, I want it to at least come down into this. Let me go to the daily. And with the volume picking up like this on to the bear, I'm very much in favor of the bears to stick around. I have a feeling that it's at a little interesting swing spot though. Okay, it is. It's at a nice little swing area. So this might be the area where it starts to retrace up And overall, you can see that there's not a lot of volume in between kind of this area. And let me draw the fib to the downside now. So if it does make its way, and I'll delete this fib now, if it does make its way up and correct, you can see there's not a lot of volume in between it. So it probably will get there fast. I don't really want to buy the correction on gold. I would really like to just wait for it to get into the area of the swing area and then show some price action to the downside. You can see high volume coming in right here off the 61.8. I would really like to see this play out on gold, kind of a move like this. And then once we get into here, really look for some type of impulsive move, or maybe even a, when there's this big of a move right here, like I've said a million times, I don't love swing trading, but the 78.6 is probably going to have some type of order on it because this looks like it's going to continue to the downside. The 4-hour had some volume pick up on the downside, and then it starts to decrease a little bit as we're pulling back. So that's what you want to see for a continuation to the downside. On the correction, you want to see lower volume. This fib could be taken from here as well, no doubt. I'm just going to take it from the top right here. Yeah, so ultimately, if it makes one more move to the downside, that'll be kind of the pattern that I like to see to look for possible buys. So that's really what I'm going to be waiting on for gold if I'm going to buy it. I don't like the way it looks for the upside yet with this type of bearish move still. It looks like impulsive down correction. The bears are still in control on gold in my opinion, but it needs to correct, right? So I'm waiting for like a move down in here, and then I'll possibly look for that correction. I'm not going to look for it yet. Even if this breaks right here, even if it does this, I'm not going to look for that. I'm going to just be patient and wait for some type of a better corrective pattern. Okay, so overall, gold, long-term bearish. Short-term, I'm being patient on it. You can see the divergence is present. If it makes this lower move down and it still has this divergence, just delete that, and it still has this divergence look to it, then it'll be a possibility to try to catch this bottom to bring up for a correction, but even that's risky. I like to really just play structure and play momentum. This is momentum, but I don't really like to counter trend the momentum. Even though I use the divergence really to see when and when not to trade more than anything. And then, of course, when it's in a trading area, then I'll use the divergence for confirmation. But obviously, I'm looking for the trade up here, so I don't necessarily want to trade to get it up into that. More or less, just want to try to find a risky position, if anything. But it kind of has some Wyckoff to it, It does start to have some Wyckoff. I could definitely see a spring down and then kind of a move like this and then a move to the upside. So I'm going to be cautious on that. Okay. The VIX is going crazy. Doesn't know what it really wants to do. So the VIX is going to tell me which way the indices should go. Last week, the VIX had a very bullish close. So, I mean, a lot of the times, to be honest, when the VIX does close super bullish, the next week is bearish. I mean, you've seen it here, 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 and here, even here. So, it's kind of telling. This is the only time that it didn't do that, and this was the coronavirus. So, or COVID, whatever. So, it's not looking, amazing. But at the same time, it did make a nice move last week. So I would like to see it to continue. On the daily, it made this nice move above the 50 EMA. It held at the 200. Yesterday, it just completely rejected that 200. So I don't love playing against these type of candles. it's risky. You know, the momentum was bullish and now it's just switched to bearish real quick. It's not looking excellent for the upside yet, in my opinion. I still am leaning towards the upside. I'm probably not gonna look to buy into the indices because of how bullish I've been on the VIX, and it still could. Nothing's really giving me anything on the 4 hour. It still could move to the upside. It had a little gap down here that it came to close, and it's kind of holding above these EMAs still, just right at them at least. So there could be another leg up on this. Definitely can see that. It's just a little risky, to be honest. I'm going to have to see what these look like. Okay. NASDAQ weekly. Last week it ended with a doji. Excuse me. Last week ended with a doji at all-time highs. So the all-time highs were hit. We're trying to make all-time highs again. Not a fan. Really not a fan of buying at all-time highs. Let me just draw this little trend line right here. Yeah. I'm not going to be buying into this. I'm probably not going to sell it either, though, because structure never broke to the downside. So it's the NASDAQ's at a spot for me where it's like a no-go. It made a nice little impulse down, but before that it made a nice impulse up. So I'm going to skip the NASDAQ. I'm not going to mess with that. I'm leaning towards the downside, but I'm going to skip that. Wow, so the S&P made a very nice recovery, it looks like, yesterday. A huge recovery. So, man, I was expecting something like this to play out up here and then another move down. But with that type of bullish move, it really does look like it's just going to retrace and then make all-time highs. No lie. That's what it looks like it's going to do. So there's not a bearish setup on this, in my opinion. Let me look at the weekly real quick. Man, that just recovered instantly. So last week it was a very bearish week. Had a very bearish candle. Usually I expect more downside to that, but no, not at all. Not at all. So completely took out that candle off the 50 EMA. The 50 EMA has held so much in the past on this pair, so on the daily. So it looks like it's holding again. Probably going to see like a retracement and then a move to the upside to break all-time highs, which means the VIX is going to end up dropping. So this is coming down and then move up like that. You can kind of see the inverted. Man, okay. So I don't really like buying at all-time highs, but this impulse is very tempting. So what I'm going to do, and you got the volume, the daily volume, today's volume, this is where the most buyers were, or the most trade opportunity traders were. So I'm going to mark this area off. If tomorrow morning there's bearish divergence, it's probably going to correct because it's not just going to go up forever like this. I mean, shit, it could, but it is in an area where there was sellers, definitely. You know, you can see the sellers here, you can see the sellers here. So it's definitely in an area where there was sellers, and honestly, this area right here was like a stop hunt move. So there was manipulation in right here, and then we had this big dropout. So in all honesty, this area that, you know, you can just bring it over, that's a manipulative area where I think price actually will fall from, but it looks like it's going to end up holding down here. So it's a little tricky to play. On the 15-minute, there's definitely some divergence with this rising wedge. So most likely what we're going to see tomorrow off the open is a drop. And then once it gets into this area, we'll probably see it hold into this where there was clear demand. So it's not, it's a little shaky, to be honest. It could keep going off of this. You know, it could just break through this, kind of retest and go. But what I see is a little move up, come down into this, something like that. And once we get here, form another falling wedge and then kind of pop out of that. So I'll be watching this tomorrow morning to try to possibly play a drop, but it'll be short. Let's see what this one looks like. Same thing. So these V recoveries on the indices, they happen quite a bit, to be honest. You can see the big V right there. We're getting a small one right now. There's another one right there, another one right there, right there, right there. So, you know, it's risky to sell them, to be honest. It really is. This had a bearish week last week, though. A little bit of volume stepped in. Daily. Yeah, just a bullish engulfing. That's one of my rules. I don't like to play against bullish engulfings, or I don't like to sell against bullish engulfings. I don't like to buy against bearish engulfings. It's under the 50 EMA though, so it hasn't necessarily broken and held under the 50 EMA. I mean, it did right here, and then look what happened, boom. But ultimately, it hasn't really gotten below the 50 EMA too much, so there is still a chance that this could continue down. I'm just not liking how fast it recovered up. So on all these other like continuation drops, it didn't make any type of move like this. Definitely did not make any type of move like that. The volume is kind of decreasing on the move up, so that's a sign of, you know, a pullback more than anything. So it's kind of the same thing, right? The big seller stepped in right here, and it's at an area where it could drop from. So tomorrow, if it hits this 78.6 and it has some, you know, has some divergence to it, it could fall back into this area. But if it doesn't fall from here, it's coming right back into this. It's coming there quick probably because there's not a lot of volume. You can see right here, price moved fast here. It's most likely going to move fast again there if it breaks this high. We put some more price into it to see if the volume profile changes any. Okay, we're coming actually right into a lot of volume. So let me bring this out. Yeah, like I said, you can see how the volume diminishes right there. So if it doesn't pretty much hold right where it's at, it's probably going to make its way up into this area. And I don't love that, but it's still an opportunity. I might play the sells right off of the open tomorrow, and if they don't work out, they don't work out. Ultimately, when it comes back down into this area, it's probably going to go bullish. So it's a little risky. Let's see what this ish is talking about. So just to go over kind of a trade setup that we were looking at yesterday. Price made this impulsive move up. We were looking at this to possibly be a bottom area over this swing from this area here to here. You know, it came right into this 78.61.8 area, made this move up. We had fibbed that, and you know, ultimately we were looking for price to continue to the upside right here, start to swing up, and it gave a nice little rejection off the 78.6, but then the next candle just took off. So the 78.6 gave a little 1-to-1, but that's it, nothing special. We got this kind of falling wedge pattern now. We're getting a little impulse. I would love to see price make it back above here to really confirm some bullish structure. But if we go onto the higher time frames, it's not looking great, right? It's definitely not bullish yet. So the Wyckoff pattern that I've been seeing, it's coming to make another test down at the bottom, right? And if this bottom, basically at the end of this week, if there's not a wick at the bottom of this somehow, I don't care how far it goes this week, if it doesn't leave a wick, we're probably going lower because you can see the 50 EMA is going to break. I don't know, on the daily, you'll be able to see this is about to cross. So when the 50, man, that is about to cross, huh? So yeah, regardless, it's gonna cross because it's lagging price. And when this crosses, that is a very bearish sign. Um, let me just see the last time it even crossed down. This is the first time it crossed up, and you see what happens when it crosses up. Boom. So last time it crossed down, we had a little move. I mean, we've been sideways for a while right there. You can see in the last little bull run that we had, when we get that bearish, it's called a death cross. When we get that right there, 50 crossing the 200, that's when we start to get into this, longer term bear market, longer term consolidation. So, just looking at the past, we could very well be in that sort of consolidation, long-term area, but what I'm seeing here is the market is flat, obviously. Down here we have some support somewhat, and the momentum is pulling up. So there is a weak, kind of a medium divergence here, where if price wants to turn around here, I could understand. But to be honest, guys, this daily candle with the volume, how it looks like we're going to see lower prices on these cryptos, and that is no bueno. So, but it is what it is, right? If y'all know me, I'm kind of invested into a lot of cryptos. So overall, I don't want it to go down too far, but the further it goes, just the more dollar cost average I'm going to get into, to be honest. So if this kind of rectangle, flag, whatever you want to call it, it was a triangle for a minute and then it got broken. So if this starts to break down right here, I'm seeing 20K easily get hit, right? Easily. And I don't really want to see the likes of 10K, to be honest. That's a little too far for me. But if you take this and look at it kind of like it with an Elliott wave perspective, this would be wave 1, 2, 3. Kind of got a flat going on, and then another drop here. So usually 1 and 5 are the same. So if I take it from here to here, and then I just kind of move this over there, we can see it coming all the way down to, what's this, around 22. That's ultimately where I would look for it to start to turn around. If I bring out my divergence fibs that I like to use from the correction, I can see it coming down to 23. So it's all kind of lining up for price to possibly make its way down, to be honest. I don't, like I said, don't want that, but if we see a 20K Bitcoin again, I personally will be, putting more money into the crypto market all around, right? If we, and me and Abdul, we've talked about it, the possibility of it coming down here just based off of fibs as well, impulse fib, that 21 is the, and let me bring it from the very bottom. So this is where it started to, see right here, this is where it started to impulse up. And so like that 26 area, 34's already kind of got broken. But if we bring it from the very bottom of the big swing, 27.17 even looks possible based off fibs, right? I kind of want to play it from this area. This is where I see like the parabolic move happening, and that's that 21, 22 area. And that's why this 30, in my opinion, has been holding really nicely. This kind of, let me move this fib out the way. This 31 has been holding nicely based off of this 61.8 overall swing. But like I said, if we come down one more time, this is what I'm seeing, that 21, 22. And if it doesn't stop there, then this is the next area, right? Straight up. So it's not looking great for the crypto market. I'm going to wait for two things to be bullish. Unless it just continues to the downside, then there's not much, you got to wait for like that 22 price. Actually, I would say three things. First thing, if we break this, okay, and then we shoot right back up. Pretty much what we did here, here, and here, but they just didn't break lower. If we do break lower, I'm going to consider that the spring. And I'm going to try one more time on the next move down. So if it comes down and then shoots right back into this range, I'm going to try this move. I'm going to try to catch this move. That'll be like the test when you're talking Wyckoff. Okay? And let me just delete this so we don't have to look at that. That'll be one thing I'll look for. If that happens, I'm playing the bulls. Another thing that I'll have to wait on is I'll need to see these on the 1 hour. So it's gonna happen first on the 1 hour. I need to see those cross to the upside. It's called a golden cross when it happens to the upside. Death cross is the downside. Golden cross is the upside. So I would need to really see these cross to the upside to be super, long-term bullish. Starting on the 1 hour and then working its way up. And then the last thing that I would really like to see, obviously, is just structure. I would like to see the structure start to form on the 1 hour. That's like the lowest time frame I'm looking for structure, to be honest, to form. And if we can get that, then I'll be a little bit more bullish. But right now, guys, I am not looking. It's not looking good for Bitcoin, and I'm laughing because I have my money invested into it, and it's annoying more than anything, to be honest. Let me look at Ethereum. They're all going to look similar. Yeah, just this area right here. I'll look at it on the lower time frame. But for Ethereum, if I were to try to find a spot to fib it, I would try to fib it from either this low right here to the upside. And it made a big ass move up, right? So it rejected off the 61.8 as well, and the likes of 10K could easily happen. I don't want to see it ever get down to $100, to be honest. That would be a ridiculous 90% retracement. So I don't think it's going that low. I don't think Ethereum can make it down that low. 10,000 will be kind of the lowest I see, really. Let me look at some Elliott type move. So if it moves from here and makes kind of a measured move down, that would be terrible. I don't want it to do that. That would be a very deep move, to be honest. Let's bring that and see where that goes again. That's going all the way down to 300. And hey, it could happen. Let me see what this says. Okay. That could happen, right? It could come all the way down here. I'm not saying it can happen. I just don't want that even to get close to happening. Definitely got the divergence here as well. So that's a sign, that it could start turning around. Here's these lows that it's respected at. And instead of putting a line there, let's put an actual price. So I'll put that right there. And it was, resistance, resistance, support, support. So it could, voice crack, it could hold there, right? It could be a little Wyckoff move as well. We're getting some 4 hour bullish candle. That would be nice, but ultimately, same thing. I would need the same type of stuff to happen. Let me see where the daily crosses are. Okay, this isn't even close to the death cross, so that's a good sign. It's just Bitcoin, really. These crossed a while ago. 1 hour. So first bullish sign for me would be this to cross up the green. The second one would be this structure to start to break. You can see how it was some really nice structure in the past. I would need that to break to the upside. And other than that, this thing's probably going to keep going down. I gotta be very patient on these cryptos. They're in good areas to add to your portfolio. Great areas to add to your portfolio on the dollar cost averaging side. You know, if it continues to drop, put a little bit more. I'd say if you have $1,000, you could have put 200 in here, 200 in here, 200 in here, 200, 200, right? And if it just continues to go up and you have bullish signs and we don't get those prices, right? If we get something like this, then you can maybe put 200 there, 200 there, 200, stuff like that. That's how you would dollar cost into it. Okay, Litecoin is going to be exactly the same, guys. Litecoin is the same thing as all the other ones pretty much. The death cross isn't close yet, but it looks like it came and just nagged this top like that. Got the divergence, so bullish signs for a long-term turnaround. It's there, but if I bring out the divergence fib, it's probably going to give me some price down here at $65, which is coming back into this structure down into there. There's good amount of volume into that. You know, I definitely would look to buy more Litecoin if it comes down into this. In fact, let me do the same thing for Ethereum. Where does this correction end up going for that? Okay, yeah, down into that 10K. So it's kind of looking better and better, to be honest. That 10K. And then XRP, same thing. It's got the daily divergence. So divergence on the daily is very strong. Definitely very strong. I don't take that lightly. I like to see that, but it usually comes down to the 61 or 161.8 extension, sorry, off of the divergence. So regardless, we're gonna have divergence with these cryptos, because even if it does fall all the way down here and the momentum continues, the momentum will be flat and the price will be making lower lows, and that's a sign of divergence on its own. So this is lining up with the volume profile as well. I'd like to see that. You got this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave right there. If we get that, if we get 37 cents on XRP, definitely look to invest into these cryptos, right? But that's pretty much it for me, guys. Some of the other cryptos I'm looking at, Matic is below 120. So I had this set up right here. I went ahead and added to it at 136, and I'll just delete that. It's dipped down to 120 now. You can see how it started to make a nice bull run on the last little run up. I think Matic still has a really good chance to continue to the upside. I know it's at terrible, or not terrible pricing, it's good pricing, but it looked kind of scary. Still want to see Matic go up. I know Tron is very cheap right now, so if you're looking for something cheap that has value, I think Tron's a good one. Some of these other ones, Mirror Protocol. This is one, it's not going to have a lot of data, but it did a very nice pop-up, and it's back kind of in some cheaper pricing. I think that is a good one. And let's see, I mean, all of these. This one is a sleeper, the Graph. So do some research on this one. This one is definitely one I think could be a big one in the future. It's only at 50 cents. E&J is another one that I really have enjoyed. I mean, made a good amount of money on it at one point. Now it's like 4 times less than what it was at that. I got into E&J really cheap, so I'm still in profit on it, but it's very cheap right now. E&J, and then of course BAT. That's another one that I got into down in here, maybe even lower, and it made a nice run up. So they're all having bullish divergence on the daily. They all could definitely continue lower, especially if Bitcoin continues lower. But like I said, I would like to see some type of structure form before I'm even close to super bullish on these, right? So I appreciate y'all for coming on. I'm sorry the stream kind of got messed up. Probably won't post a recording just because it's not going to be the full stream, but I think it'll still be on YouTube anyway. I'm not sure how freaking YouTube works really, so. All right, y'all have a good one. I'll see y'all tomorrow most likely. Let's make some money.